Hello, everybody. My name is Bonnie Rose Marcus. I welcome you to this town hall this evening. I'm here with my colleagues, Ricardo Hernandez, Jamie Fitzgerald, and Dan Tran, as well as our literary outreach coordinators, Kelly Harris and Justin Rogers. I am director of the Readings and Workshops program East and Writers Exchange, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of an overview about Poets and Writers and the Readings and Workshops program as a context for this meeting about our BIPOC project grants. So Poets and Writers is celebrating its 50th anniversary. We've been around for 50 years, offering services and resources to creative writers. We do this through our magazine, through our website, and through the Readings and Workshops program, which actually started the organization. It was the first program at Poets and Writers. And it's really a program about paying writers grants, mini grants to poets, fiction writers, creative nonfiction writers to read their work or conduct a workshop or a series of workshops. And so that program has been continuing these many years in New York, California, and 8 other cities. We are very, our mandate and our mission is really to, promote diversity, both in the writers that we support and in the communities where we have events. So just for an example, we sponsor events at youth and senior centers, at homeless shelters, in prisons, with vets, with cancer survivors, and many other groups. And so in that program, the application process is such that organizations apply to us on behalf of writers, and if granted, the fee goes to the writer. Since COVID, we have sort of transitioned to just funding virtual events until it's safe for us to, again, be able to fund live events. And this spring, we started an initiative called the United States of Writing, which was our effort towards really expanding beyond the regions that we're in, and also sort of fostering a greater giving more funds to some of our cities, which include New Orleans, Houston, and Detroit. And to do this, we have been working with and hired 3 people in each of those cities. Kelly Harris, who is here from New Orleans, Justin Rogers in Detroit, and Lupe Mendez, who couldn't be with us this evening, to really be in that community and find out what that community needs and how we can help support that community through our grants and other resources. And it is through their work in these cities, and also through the presence of the Black Lives Matter movement and the commitment that we've made at Poets and Writers to be an anti-racist organization and to promote more programs for writers of color, that we have initiated this grant, BIPOC Project Grants. So we're very excited about this, and I'm going to pass this on to Jamie to talk about the guidelines for the grant. And then we'll get a chance a little bit to hear from Kelly and Justin and Ricardo, and then really open it up to your questions that you may have about applying for this grant. So, Jamie.
Thanks, Bonnie, and hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. I'm going to go over the guidelines for the project grants for BIPOC writers. And to do that, I am going to share my screen. And while I get that set up, I'll just introduce myself briefly. I am the director of Poets and Writers California office and our Readings and Workshops West program. And so I am happily overseeing grant applications that will be coming in from Houston for this new grant program that we are launching. So I hope that you can see the guidelines. I have them up here. And I'm just gonna go through these point by point as quickly as I can. You'll find them on our website here at pw.org. You'll go to the readings and workshops link, and then from there you'll scroll down and you will see a link to the project grants. Okay, so here we go. These grants are available to writers who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color and reside in Detroit, Houston, or New Orleans. They are for virtual events at the moment because that is the safest type of event that we can fund at this time. And they are being offered in Houston, which I oversee, and in Detroit and New Orleans, which Bonnie oversees. The application deadline is at the end of this month, September 30th. So please be sure to get those applications in by then. It's a pretty quick turnaround. We are going to notify grantees on October 15th, and projects must take place before December, or by December 31st of this year. So from October 16th to December 31st. To be eligible, writers must identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. We refer to that as BIPOC. They must be a resident of Detroit, Houston, or New Orleans. And we will also consider applicants who are applying from surrounding metro areas of each city. So if you are just outside, that may not disqualify you. You should let us know, and we will be able to accept your application. Writers who apply must be published writers of poetry, fiction, or creative nonfiction, or have performing credits as a spoken word artist. Projects may include readings, workshops, or community conversations. We define a community conversation as a panel, a discussion, a town hall, or a Q&A. The events must be in the genres of poetry, fiction, or creative nonfiction. As I said before, the project should take place between October 16th and December 31st of this year. We are only funding virtual events. And these events must be offered live. So we don't offer funding for projects that are pre-recorded and then broadcast. Let's see, what else? Virtual readings and community conversations should be live streamed through an audio video platform, which is open to the public. Virtual writing workshops should include real-time online instruction of workshop attendees by a live facilitator. They can be open or closed to the public dependent on workshop needs. And we encourage recording virtual projects and archiving them through a publicly accessible platform such as YouTube or Vimeo. So those are the guidelines. The grants are based on sessions. So if you have a one session project, for instance, a reading, you can apply for $250. And then it goes up from there for a 2-session project, for a 3-session project. And that is the most we can fund at this time. So $750 for a 3-session project. Project grants may be used to cover any costs associated with the project. This includes writers' fees for the applicant or other writers, marketing and publicity, documentation, any other costs related to the project. And let's see, I think that about covers it. There are a few expectations. Anyone who receives the grant, we ask that they post their events on our literary events calendar. You'll have to use all credit lines and logos, tag PNW, and submit a final report. And that is the guidelines and info. Oh, and let's pass it on to Ricardo. Ricardo is going to say a few words and introduce the LOCs.
Thank you, Jamie. In terms of, yeah, I mean, I don't really have any remarks planned or anything. We felt it was a pretty straightforward presentation, and I will probably drop the link. I dropped the link to the project grants. If anyone on the chat now would like to just have it for reference, you probably already found them. You can refer to it again. As Bonnie mentioned earlier, we do have 3 coordinators, literary outreach coordinators. It's one for each city. Unfortunately, Lupe, our contact in Houston, couldn't make it to just say hello and introduce themselves, but we are lucky to have Kelly and Justin on the call. And so I just wanted to give them a little chance to just say something about themselves, maybe give an example of the work that they've done as an outreach coordinator. And then I think after that, maybe we can open it up to Q&A if anyone on the meeting room right now has any questions, specific or broad. I think that would be a good place. So Kelly, I'll hand it off to you, and then maybe then after that, Justin.
Sure. Can everybody hear me? Okay, cool. I'm getting a message that I'm muted. So yeah, hi, good afternoon, everybody. Greetings from New Orleans. I have been doing this work since the beginning of the program. I always say that I was doing this work before, just probably not getting paid for it. Most writers are often advocates for their writing communities. So that is how I see the position. Particularly in New Orleans, we just had a virtual reading to commemorate the 15th anniversary of Katrina. That went well. So that's an example of something that one of our cities has done, and you can still view that on the Poets and Writers website. So that'll give you an idea of kind of an event that we put on. It's still available for people to view. And so we want something, connected to the grant as you're thinking about the projects that you want to do. Something like that is an example. So I think that's all that I really want to say. I'll hang around for if anybody has questions. And Justin, I think I'll hand it over to Justin. Is that cool? All right, thanks.
Yep, what up though? Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Justin Rogers, I'm from Detroit. Like Kelly, been doing this work since the beginning of the project. We are doing a lot of work to try to make sure that we're connecting folks in our immediate literary community to these funds. We want to get you funded. So please make sure you're applying. Please make sure you're throwing us your wildest dreams. We're really interested to see what your projects are. We are here to support you in that. Just as another example, when quarantine very first begun, I work with Inside Out Literary Arts. We put on a yearly festival called Louder Than a Bomb. And our coordinator was able to apply for some of the readings and workshop grants to help cover some of the work that we did within the larger project. But out of that project, we produced lesson plans for writers. We produced writing. We produced a publication. And though we didn't apply for any of that for this grant, those are examples of other things that might come up to build upon a workshop or a reading. So really think broad. We want to see your ideas. We want to hear your ideas. So I think I'm going to kick it back to Ricardo, and we'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, so I think myself and Dan Tran, if anyone wants to, maybe feels a little shy and would rather type their question than ask it, we're happy to read it on your behalf, but I'm gonna pretty much open it up. It's a small enough group right now, so I think we can probably just unmute and then you can go ahead and introduce yourself, maybe say something a little bit about the work you do or have done, and if you have questions about the grant itself.
So I'll start if no one else wants to. My name is Lee Coffey. I'm in the Houston community. I do an arts and education presentation, first person Chautauqua. I've done that for quite a few years. I am a published writer and both nonfiction and fiction. And so I just got I apologize for being probably 12 minutes late. I had another Zoom call that I kind of zoomed through so I could get here with you all because this is my passion. I've been writing for years, and And I'm a subscriber to the Poets and Writers magazine. And coincidentally, this weekend, I pulled out the last 2 years worth. And I'm like, I haven't submitted anything. And so what am I waiting on? And then this opportunity just dropped into my lap today. And like Carl Jung calls synchronicity a meaningful coincidence. So I want to know, just in the context, who is my, I did see on the back of the flyer, there's a RW-West PW. Who's the Houston point of contact?
That would be me, Jamie,
Okay.
Asai Fitzgerald. And
Thank you.
if you email rw-west@pw.org, that will come to me.
Sure.
And I'm happy to answer any questions you have now or
Thank you.
later.
Well, I think I'm gonna let somebody else talk now. I have a question I think I want to follow up, but I want to get it formulated in my head better, so that when I ask it, it's more succinct.
I have a question. Can everybody hear me? Okay, cool. I'm Patience. I'm from Detroit. I go to MSU, and I was just wondering, I am president of the Slam Club at MSU, which is in Lansing. I reside in Detroit, and I'm from Detroit. So I was just wondering if, one, what do you mean by poets credits? Because like I'm not a published author or anything. I'm a senior in college, so I'm on the road to be a published author one day. But you know, I do have a lot of like experience with poetry. I was on the Cup C team 3 years in a row, but we couldn't go this year, unfortunately. But we are going, or we couldn't go. Yeah, we couldn't go this year, but we are hopefully going next year. So I was just wondering, what do you mean by poets credits? And for one of the project sessions, can I include MSU as well, even though like I am a Detroit resident, but the school is in Lansing? But,
yeah. Bonnie, do you want to answer? I think.
Well, sure. Credits can include your spoken word slam performances, just as long as you list them. You know, if you featured or you've done readings in public places, that is a credit. We also accept self-published and anthologized work. So either of those would be, if you're part of the slam team, it sounds like you've done work, you've presented your work, so that would be considered a credit. In terms of the Lansing, I mean, if writers can really be from anywhere, so as long as you were doing this as a Detroit sort of centered, even though we're all in our homes, obviously, I think it would be fine to bring in writers from Lansing. Ricardo, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or had a slightly different.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. I think also Patience had a question about involving MSU. So I believe that's like the state university. I will say that the first part about the credits, like that's true. So like the way that it translates on the application, it's literally a question that says, just please describe your experience. So it could be third person, right? So Patience Cherise has performed at this stage, at this time, and just a couple of those ways. So that's like a way of phrasing it. And then the way it works with these grants is let's say you would be the applicant, we approve your idea of hosting, let's say a 3-part, 3-session slam event. We basically make the funds out to you, and then you would become kind of like the administrator in a way of it. And then it would be, you would let us know how you would want the event to look like. You could mention this is how MSU would be helping. Something that is maybe not stated overtly in the guidelines, but we do sort of encourage there to be an aspect of a partnership with a community organization. So in this case, MSU might actually be a really great partner if they can help you get the word out about the event that you're hoping to plan. That would be like a great way if you're gonna invite, I'm not sure, maybe like a faculty member to participate somehow, and you'd like to compensate them a little bit as well. Like that's a way that funds could be used. Does that help?
yes, thank you. I was looking into, there's a poet named T. Miller, so I wanted to incorporate her into one of the sessions if like, but yeah, thank you. That does answer my question.
I saw that Megan Holt had their hand up, so go ahead, Megan.
Megan, I don't
We
think
can't
you're
hear you, Megan, you're muted.
not muted. Something's up with their audio.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah, it's,
Go ahead and just type it into the chat. We
yeah,
can't
if
hear
you
you
type
still.
it in, we can read it on your behalf.
Yeah, I can read it.
Is there another person who has a question while we're waiting for her?
Hi, I did have a question. My name's Mia. I'm a poet in the Detroit area. Um, my question was as far as whatever type of project that we're submitting, are we also able to submit projects that include like community pooling for funds as well, in addition to if we're granted funds from poets and writers to bid on the virtual event? I don't know.
It's a little fuzzy there, but if I heard right, it was, can you submit a request that would go towards like pooled funding? That's what I could make out. Did anyone else?
Yeah, sorry, I don't. Am I clear?
A little bit? Yeah, it's a little like fuzzy. I'm sorry.
Did you mean that you were also going to
All
try to
right.
get funding from a community, other community source as well? Is that what your question was? That you were going to get?
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
totally fine. What you would do is fill out the application for what you were requesting from us. And then whatever you did to get additional funding is kind of totally up to you. And it's great. It wouldn't take, it doesn't deter. It's a great thing to do, but we don't require it.
So just because I know this is going to be recorded and shared, maybe Bonnie, you can just rephrase the question and then answer it in case someone else viewing the clip might have that. And then I think also Megan has typed in her questions. After you do that, we'll answer that one.
I just want to make sure that I'm saying this right, Mia, so correct me if I'm not, but the question came from Mia whether she could also reach out to support from another organization, other funds from another community organization or another funder to supplement the grant that she requests from poets and writers. And the answer is yes. It's always wonderful to do that. I mean, our mission is about paying writers, supporting writers. So if you have the opportunity to get additional funds for the project, that's a big plus. We don't ask for it in this grant, but certainly it's totally fine. And it's very smart to do that. Why not? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read the question from Megan Holt. Hi, I'm Megan. I am not a creative writer. I am the director of a nonprofit hosting a literary festival that would like to pay New Orleans-based BIPOC writers an honorarium for their presentations. Can you walk me through the difference between applying as an individual and applying as an organization?
Ricardo, do you want to take that?
I'm happy to take this one on. So we have two grant programs, essentially. We have the Readings and Workshops program, which is the program we've been operating for the last 50 years or so. And in that program, an organization can apply on behalf of writers. So if you're running the literary festival and you would like to apply for participating BIPOC writers, you would want to apply to the Readings and Workshops program, not the project grants for BIPOC writers. So the project grants that we're talking about today mainly is a program where writers can apply for themselves. That's the main difference between the two programs. So I'll backtrack to the Readings and Workshops program for you. If you'd like to apply, the parameters are a little bit different. The grant amounts are $50 to $350 for a writer to give a reading, and $50 to $500 for a writer teaching a creative writing workshop or workshop series. So those guidelines can be found on our website at pw.org/funding. And I think that Ricardo could put that in the chat for you if you want to look more closely at the guidelines for the Readings and Workshops program. But I would suggest that you apply through that program. Do we have any other questions we can answer about the project grants?
Yes, I used to, again, I live in Houston, and I used to drive to San Antonio for something they had called Second Verse, and the program shut down during COVID. If a person in that, and I know of only 2 people in that community that were really, really, that I would reach out to, but would they be able to apply under this grant? You know, San Antonio is a few miles away, but.
Right now, we're really only able to fund events in the Houston, Harris County area and the greater Houston metro area. So I think that San Antonio is probably a little bit too far away to qualify. Yeah.
Sure, fair enough. The last question is, and I've written some, I've been doing some writing, and I've published some articles, newspaper articles, and nonfiction and such, but I've never published any of my poetry. And I wrote my first poem when I was 15, and it ties right into what we're doing with the racism, you know, being as American as apple pie, and the events occurring secondary to George Floyd's death and the other deaths as well. But George Floyd's death has put it on the radar for more people than historically. So how which one of these would I qualify for? The individual program?
I'm hoping you can clarify your question. I'm not sure if you're asking about how to go about getting the poem published, or did you want to apply for an event?
I want to apply for an event for I would imagine as the individual.
Yes, so then
Okay.
if you're applying for yourself for an event that you would like to organize, then you would apply for the project grant.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll follow up with you offline then.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, just so you know, Lee, the literary coordinator in Houston, which it might be also good to touch base with him, is Lupe Mendez, who's not here with us today. But maybe we can, when you talk to Jamie, she can put you in touch with him, or Ricardo can, because he's helping to sort of reach out to the Houston community, and it would be a good contact, I think, for you.
Would you repeat that name?
Lupe Mendez.
Okay, Lupe Mendez. Thank you.
I'm going to send you a message, Lee, with the information just in a sec.
Thank you.
I had one more question. How many people are you like picking for the grants?
Well, we have a limited amount of money, and so it's basically going to be depend on how many grants we receive, and how many we're able to approve, and so I can't really give you an exact answer for that because it's kind of an unknown. But we are eager to look at all applications that come in, and we're eager to encourage as many people as possible, especially if this is not. I mean, one of the reasons we're doing the grant this way is we're trying to make it accessible to more people, because sometimes when you say the word grant to somebody, they get a little nervous, like maybe they don't qualify, or maybe they haven't done enough. And we really wanted to break through that barrier. So we just want to kind of open this up, and I'm not sure how many applications we're going to receive, but we're going to fund as many as we can until the money runs out.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if anybody else has anything to add from my team here, but go ahead.
Are there any other questions about the guidelines, qualifications, anything like that? Well, I think if that's it, then should we wrap up?
Yeah, and I just want to say, sometimes you don't think of your questions in the moment. Please feel free to email us with the RW East, RW West emails, which I think Ricardo's put in the chat or will putting. We're a small department in the sense of there's, you know, me, Ricardo, and Dan Tran in the East, although Dan Tran also works with the West, and Jamie in the West. And, you know, we're happy to answer questions, help you brainstorm about your project. Yeah, I mean, really feel free to do that. We like to talk to writers and see if we can be helpful in any way. So it's an open invitation.
I do have a question in relation to this. Seemingly poetry is the slant, but is this also including writers, or is it more poetry?
It's more than poetry. So writers of poetry and literary prose, which we define as fiction and memoir or creative nonfiction. So that's the extent of the genres that we fund.
So then I guess the question would be, when can you and I have a conversation then, so I could, should I just send you the email at the address and then you and I'll coordinate that?
Yes, I'm happy to set something up. We can just correspond by email, or if you want to give me a call, I can also share, you know, my number with you, and we can
Okay.
talk.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for putting this on. I appreciate it.
Our
I'd
pleasure.
also encourage you all to tell your friends in the literary world, should like pass the word, and we'll be posting this, Ricardo, right? So, you know, if they want to listen to the guidelines, or they can always go to the website for the guidelines, because you know, we want to make this opportunity open to people, and so you're spreading the word will be very helpful.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Take care, and
take care. Keep writing. Keep safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.